One of the buzzwords of Christian faith has always been this concept of being gospel-centered. And, that's one of the things that we define ourselves at here at the Abundant Journey Ministries, is that we are gospel-centered, mission-focused, and adventure-driven. So what does that even really mean? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today in this episode of Campfire Devotions, which starts now. RV families and lovers of the outdoors. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Campfire Devotion. Today, like I said, we're going to be talking about the idea of being gospel-centered. And this is kind of I want to call it a catchphrase or more of a term that a lot of ministries and Christians and everything like to use. And it's not that it's a bad thing that they're using it or anything like that. In fact, that's not where we're going with this at all. Actually, what we're going to be doing is just breaking it down a little bit so we can maybe understand it a little bit better. See, you can't really say that, I'm gospel-centered or, I'm a gospel-centered hiker. I'm a gospel-centered eater. Maybe you like to eat a lot. Well, whatever that is. Okay, you can't really say that without first maybe understanding the gospel itself. So that's where we're going to start. So we're going to first talk about, the gospel is just simply the good news that Jesus Christ came, took on human flesh, born of a virgin, and through his death, burial, and resurrection, redeem the world of their sin for all that believe in him and come to faith in him. And through the sacrifice that he did for us, because of that, our relationship with God and each other has been healed. Now, even though that is, let's call it a abridged definition of the gospel, in a sense, that's what it is. That's the gospel. It's the good news of what Jesus Christ has done for us. So what does it mean to be gospel-centered? Well, just like if you were to say, I am centered on being a good family man or a family woman, right? A mom, a dad, right? I am centered on that. That means that every aspect of your life you view through that lens, right? I view going to work. I view driving all over the city. Whatever activity you want to choose, right? You view it saying, I do it because I'm a good father. I do it because I'm a good mother. Whatever, right? So you're family-centered in that way. Again, not a bad thing. But what we're talking about is gospel-centered. That means that because of your believing faith in what Jesus Christ has done, that affects every area of your life. And everything you do henceforth reflects that. And reflects that belief. Now, here's the good thing about that, right? So if you are truly gospel-centered, if the changing good news, or the good news truly changed you from the inside out, there's fruit there. So now, being gospel-centered, that affects your relationships with other people, your relationship with God, how you prioritize things, all of that. That's gospel-centered. So here, whenever we say that we are gospel-centered through this, that means that, like these videos, the media that we put out, the things that we say, the meetups that we want to plan with all of you families and get to know you, it's gospel-centered. We do it because we are connected through Christ, and that's the reason, that's what compels us to do these things. Now, granted, we are orchestrating everything humanly, right? So there's going to be flaws there. There's going to be things that maybe we do out of selfish intent or whatever, because we all fall short of the glory of God. But gospel-centered also means that you believe that Christ ultimately has redeemed you. And this is also true for a very important man in the New Testament, the Apostle Paul. He is what we would call gospel-centered. Everything that he did was because of the gospel and through the gospel, all of that. He didn't want anything else to get in the way of that. So I want to read a few verses out of 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and kind of touch on this a little bit. And I, when I came to you, brothers, did not come proclaiming to you the testimony of God with lofty speech or wisdom, for I decided to know nothing among you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. And I was with you in weakness and in fear and much trembling. And my speech and my message were not in plausible words of wisdom, but in demonstrating of the Spirit and of the power, so that your faith might not rest in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. See, ultimately, Paul's mission, Paul was trying to accomplish this idea of don't look to me. Don't become Paul-centered, right? Don't just completely focus on my wisdom and my teachings or anything like that, but focus on the gospel and what God can do through the Spirit. He's like, I didn't want you guys to know anything else besides Christ crucified, not my wisdom, right? And isn't that true? Like, at the end of the day, anything I say on these videos, anything that you may tell your friends, your family, anything like that, you know, that there comes a point where the analogy falls short, your stories fall short, your witness falls short. There comes a time when if you are trying to proclaim, saying, hey, Christ is awesome, you should follow him, right? And you're trying to, you know, get everyone encouraged to come along with you, right? And you're trying to just witness to everybody, but then all of a sudden you mess up somehow, right? You fall a little short, you fall down, you stumble, whatever that is. You want to make sure that people are not becoming you-focused, me-focused, but gospel-focused, gospel-centered. Make sure they're not focusing on your wisdom or my wisdom, but simply Christ crucified. And that's what Paul tried to do with his entire life after he found Christ. He became gospel-centered. Everything he did was because of the gospel and through the gospel. Through the good news that Christ died for you. Christ died for me. But ultimately, realize that Christ died for all believers. So that way we can be connected in a community of believers that can further proclaim Christ crucified. Thank you again for watching these Campfire Devotion videos. Please like our Facebook page, follow us on YouTube. We want to get to know you, and right now that's the best way for you to get to know us is through the media that we produce. We do have a couple meetups and events planned that we would love for you guys to check out and just consider joining us at these events. And look forward to our next video and our next Campfire Devotion. Thank you all. Cut! And also we had almost a car accident happen behind me, so we're going to redo that.